There is a quiet kind of defeat that lives in the modern world, a silent surrender that hides beneath our comforts, our routines, and our need to appear fine. Most people do not fall because they are weak. They fall because they have forgotten the art of standing still inside discomfort. We scroll endlessly, seeking meaning in a glow of screens, and we call it connection. Yet every motion away from silence takes us deeper into emptiness. The Stoics warned us about this long ago, that a life without struggle slowly erodes the strength of the soul, until comfort becomes its own form of decay. We chase ease as if it was safety, we run from pain as if it were death, and we call that progress. But comfort, when worshipped, begins to rot the will. It turns courage into hesitation, and gratitude into boredom. The Stoics would say that the enemy is not the hardship itself, but the fear of it. When Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events," he was not offering comfort. He was offering a challenge to master the only battlefield that truly exists, the one within. Somewhere along the path, we stopped training for life. We built walls to protect ourselves from pain, and in doing so, we trapped ourselves inside the walls. We began to confuse softness with peace, avoidance with wisdom, indulgence with happiness. We forgot that the mind, like the body, grows only through resistance. Seneca slept on the floor not because he loved discomfort, but because he refused to be owned by comfort. He understood that when life strips away what you depend on, the only thing left is who you have become. Today, we have more than any generation before us. More warmth, more food, more noise, more distraction, and yet less peace. We have replaced contemplation with consumption and wonder why our minds are restless. The Stoics would tell us, the absence of struggle does not bring peace, it brings emptiness. Peace is born not in the avoidance of storms, but in learning how to breathe within them. And if the storm is not outside, but within you, then that is where your work begins. We have mistaken comfort for happiness, but they are not the same. Comfort is a state of the body, happiness is a state of the soul. The body seeks warmth, but the soul seeks meaning. When you feed the body too much comfort, the soul begins to starve. You stop growing, you stop questioning, and slowly, you forget the weight of what it means to live fully awake. The Stoic path is not about rejecting the world, it is about meeting it without collapse. To live gently, yet remain unbroken. To endure the noise, yet not be shaped by it. If you listen closely, you might feel it, that faint ache inside your chest, the pull of something that wants to wake. It is the quiet reminder that you were not made for numbness. You were made for depth. The stillness you seek is not found by avoiding pain, but by walking through it with open eyes and steady breath. Every discomfort is a mirror, showing you who you are and who you could become if you stopped running. The Stoics understood this. They stood inside storms and called them teachers. They met loss and called it truth. They met fear and called it practice. And so perhaps the modern man does not need more comfort. Perhaps he needs more courage. The courage to sit in silence without reaching for distraction. The courage to feel pain without naming it failure. The courage to remember that life is not supposed to be easy, it is supposed to be real. When you learn to stop fearing discomfort, something shifts. The mind steadies, the breath slows, the noise fades. And what remains is strength. There comes a moment when the noise of the world fades, and you begin to hear the quieter voice inside. It does not shout, it does not demand, it simply asks, who are you when life strips everything away? Most people never stay still long enough to answer. They rush to fix, to fill, to distract. But the Stoics knew, silence reveals what struggle cannot hide. It shows you the distance between who you pretend to be and who you truly are. And that distance, when faced with honesty, becomes the path. To live with strength is not to conquer everything outside you, it is to command what moves within you. The Stoics called this the discipline of perception, to see clearly without distortion, to look at life not through fear or desire, but through understanding. When something painful happens, the untrained mind asks, "Why me?" The Stoic mind whispers, "Why not me?" It doesn't mean surrender, it means acceptance, not of defeat, but of reality. For the world was never promised to be fair, only to be real. Marcus Aurelius faced wars, betrayal, loss. Yet he wrote with calm, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it." That single realization, if truly lived, can free a lifetime of suffering. You begin to see that peace was never stolen from you. It was misplaced, hidden beneath the weight of your own reaction. You realize that no person, no event, no disappointment has the power to define your mind unless you grant it permission. And in that moment of clarity, you begin to reclaim your freedom. Freedom, to the Stoic, is not doing whatever you want. It is wanting nothing that controls you. When you no longer chase the validation of others, when you no longer let emotion pull you like a puppet, you return to your center. The Stoics practice this daily, not through grand speeches, but through small, quiet acts of mastery. A calm breath before anger, a pause before words, a steady gaze when others panic. These are not small things. They are the foundation of an unshakable life. And yet, we live in an age that fears stillness. We are taught that to stop moving is to fall behind, that to sit in silence is to waste time. But silence is not absence. It is presence, the space where the mind can finally see itself clearly. The Stoics sought this state like warriors of the inner world. They trained their minds the way soldiers train their bodies. They embraced voluntary hardship, fasting, cold, simplicity not for pain's sake, but to remind themselves that peace cannot depend on comfort, because when comfort disappears, only character remains. Seneca once asked his students to imagine losing everything, wealth, safety, reputation, and then to ask themselves whether their mind would still be intact. It is a brutal exercise, but a necessary one, because the mind that has rehearsed loss no longer fears it. The soul that has walked through imagined darkness meets the real thing with light. And in that practice of letting go, the Stoic discovers a rare strength, a strength born not from control, but from surrender to what is. Modern life tells us to build higher walls, to collect more, to hold tighter. The Stoic whispers the opposite, let go, and you will see how little you needed to be free. The more you cling, the more fragile you become. The more you expect, the more disappointed you grow. Detachment is not coldness, it is clarity. It is standing in the fire and realizing you are not burning. It is looking at the storm and saying, "This too is mine to walk through." When you begin to see life this way, the ordinary becomes sacred. Every obstacle becomes a lesson in patience. Every insult, a test of composure. Every delay, a teacher of humility. The Stoic does not resist these things. He uses them as fuel. He understands that struggle is not the enemy, it is the forge. And the heat you feel now, though it burns, is shaping you into someone who can hold calm in the middle of chaos. So, pause. Breathe. Feel the tension that rises when things do not go your way. Watch it, but do not follow it. Observe your emotions as you would the clouds moving, changing, passing. You are not them. You are the sky beneath them, steady, vast, untouched. This is what the Stoics trained for, not perfection, but presence. Not invincibility, but peace in motion. And in that peace, you begin to see the truth. You were never meant to escape life's storms. You were meant to become still within them. At some point, the search ends. Not because you have found everything, but because you finally understand there was never anything missing. The storms you feared were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal you, to strip away the layers that were never truly yours, until what remains is quiet, strong, and real. You begin to see that peace is not given, it is remembered. It was always there, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, waiting for you to stop running. The Stoics called this the return to nature, not nature as forests and mountains, but the nature of the soul, a mind aligned with reason, a heart aligned with truth. When you reach this place, even briefly, you no longer crave control. You no longer need the world to be gentle for you to be calm. You simply meet it as it is, and that is enough. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You realize now, he wasn't talking about resistance. He was talking about flow, about moving with life instead of against it. And so you begin to release. You release the need to be right, the need to be seen, the need to win every unseen battle in your mind. You release the tension you've been carrying for years, the expectation that life should always make sense. It doesn't, and that is its beauty. The Stoic does not demand perfection from the world. He learns to love it as it is fleeting, uncertain, beautifully fragile. He learns that acceptance is not weakness, it is alignment. When you stop fighting what is, you stop suffering. You start to notice things you never did before. The sound of your breath when the morning is still, the texture of sunlight on your skin, the strange peace that follows surrender. The mind that once ran in circles begins to walk. The heart that once grasped begins to open. This is not the numbness of defeat, it is the stillness of strength. To stand in a world that rushes and yet not rush. To live among chaos and yet not be consumed by it. That is mastery. That is freedom. Seneca once said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." You understand now what he meant. To live fully is not to avoid pain, but to walk through it with grace. It takes courage to love in a world that breaks easily. It takes courage to stay gentle when everything around you hardens. It takes courage to remain kind when others choose cruelty. But this courage, quiet, steady, unseen, is the kind that builds civilizations within the heart. It is the fire that does not burn, the strength that does not shout. You begin to see your life differently. Every failure becomes a teacher. Every wound becomes a doorway. Every ending, a quiet invitation to begin again. You stop chasing meaning and start creating it in the smallest of things, in a patient breath, in a word spoken gently, in the discipline of showing up one more day. This is the Stoic path, not grand or dramatic, but humble and radiant. It does not promise that life will be easy. It promises that you will be ready. And when the end comes, as it will for all the Stoic smiles, not because he conquered the world, but because he lived in harmony with it. He does not beg for more time. He simply breathes once more and lets go. For he knows that life, like breath, was never meant to be held. It was meant to be lived, fully, and then released. So, breathe. Breathe deeply. Let the noise settle. Let the fear dissolve. You are not your failures, not your pain, not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them, vast, calm, unbroken. The Stoics did not seek immortality, they sought clarity. And in that clarity, they found eternity in each passing moment. Remember this: you were never meant to be unshaken by avoiding storms. You were meant to become still within them. And that stillness, quiet, strong, infinite, is the truest power a human being can hold.